I was miscast in my first big part on Broadway. One night after a show, there was Mel Brooks wearing a Merchant Marine pea jacket. He looked striking in it. I said, hello, how nice to meet you. My goodness, you look so wonderful in that pea jacket. He said, yeah, they used to call them urine jackets, but they didn't sell. When I was 7.5 or 8 years old, my mother had a heart attack. This heavy-set doctor brought her home, told her some things while she was lying in bed, and then came out to see me, and he grabbed me by the arm. It was summer, a hot day, and the sweat was dripping off of his face and falling onto my cheeks. He said, don't ever get angry with your mother, because you might kill her. He was not very psychologically oriented. But the other thing he said was, try to make her laugh. And that was a huge thing, although I didn't realize it at the time. For the first time in my life, I tried consciously to make someone else laugh. I knew I was very successful when she'd run to the bathroom and say, now look what you've made me do. You know, and when you please your mother by doing something, it gives you confidence that you can please other people. And I think that's where the courage to make people laugh came from. But I didn't want to be a comedian. I wanted to be an actor, maybe a comic actor, but an actor. And that's what got me into acting, was putting on an act, because in life, I wasn't funny. I felt on stage, or in the movies, I could do whatever I wanted to. I was free. When I was 18 and the hormones were raging, and I was at school, University of Iowa, I suddenly felt the overwhelming compulsion to pray. And I must have prayed for 20 minutes or so. I didn't know what I was praying about, but I was feeling guilty about something. The next day or two, it was 30 minutes, and then it was an hour, then 2 hours. To skip ahead to the end of the 7.5 years of analysis, I was so afraid to feel free to enjoy my own life if my mother was sick and suffering every day of hers. And I didn't think I had the right. If you ask an actor, why do you want to act? I don't think most of them know the real reasons. After 7.5 years of analysis, I have a fairly good idea why. An analyst said, it's better than running around naked in Central Park, isn't it? I was offered the part of Willy Wonka in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and when the director came to my house, I said, well, I like the script, except when the audience sees Willy Wonka for the first time, I want to come out of a door with a cane and limp my way to the crowd. And they're all waiting, oh, Willy Wonka, oh, he's a cripple. Oh my God, who thought? I never knew that, so fun. And they quiet down. And then Willy Wonka's cane gets stuck in a brick, and he starts to fall forward, and he does a forward somersault and jumps up, and the crowd cheers and applauds. And the director said, what do you want to do that for? And I said, because from that time on, no one will know whether I'm lying or telling the truth. And he said, you mean if I say no, you won't do the picture? I said, I'm afraid that's the truth.
You know what the format is with this interview?
It's not Q&A, is it?
It is.
Oh, shit. Alicia?
What do you got against Q&A?
Can you make some more coffee? Oh, no, I had to do one the other day, and I was a little sloppy for it. I saw this guy going, just realizing he would have to make me sound coherent. Hi. How'd you get that way from me? Get out of here. That's my mopping my brow material. What the hell? You! These are Italian trousers! Here, Jackie, can you take this dog away? I realize it's impossible to have any sympathy, I mean, true sympathy for people that are famous. People usually go through a bad period when they first get successful. You're new and you're hot, things go wrong. So you're not really used to all the attention. People treat you differently, and what happens is you start taking that seriously, and then you start becoming an ass, and then they treat you like an ass. And then
Was there a period like that for you, where you things were a little out of control?
right now. One of my favorite things used to be in traffic in New York, and there's a Cadillac honking or something, and Mercedes honking. I used to do this all the time before I was famous. I would jump into the middle of the street and say, "Excuse me, there's a Mercedes that's got to get through here." You know, and I would push people out of the way and get out of the way. You know, let him through. You know, smacking their cars and stuff, just like whack. You know, you just jump into it. You know, and you can't do it because now you do it and you go, "Hey, Lord, hey, meatballs." The whole thing is lost. The point you were trying to make or whatever fun you were trying to have is sort of undercut. The money thing is, you know, the sort of Elvis Presley thing of buying your mother a car is great. My mother has learned how to spend money. I mean, she used to call and say, "Bill, we really need a boiler." You know, and I just for the hell of it, I would say, "Well, why don't you shop around and see which one, you know, don't blow a lot of money. I mean, just get a bargain. You know, like a boiler in the house to heat the house in the winter in Chicago." So finally I bought her an American Express card. And the numbers she puts up are geometric every year. I mean, the first year, I think she bought a tow when her car broke down. The second year, she went to dinner on her birthday or something. The third year, she rented a condo in Florida for the winter and took her, you know, a couple of cousins and some friends down. So, I mean, she's figured it out. I mean, you know, she had 9 kids. Technically, she could commit murder and get away with it. So, whatever number she runs up on me is, you know, not even a misdemeanor. I know it could have been anybody. It's just a weird, lucky thing, really. It could have been any actor. There are a lot of actors who are more talented than me at Second City who quit it before they even got to a paying status. You know?
Well, in life,
Weird luck. I had no other option. You know, I'm still just like a punk kid, really. You know, I'm just an obnoxious guy who can make it appear charming. That's what they pay me to do. I'd sort of gone through some sort of spiritual change in the late 70s where I sort of saw there was some other life to live. It changed the way that I worked, just having a different presence and a different attention. That's the reason I'm not the one who's dead. Because the attraction of the fast life is very powerful. Even today I could go at any time. Something wild can happen to anybody. And I caution anybody that walks out on the street, settle your accounts before you leave the house every day. The only good thing about fame that I've gotten is I've gotten out a couple of speeding tickets. I've gotten into a restaurant when I didn't have a suit and tie on. That's really about it. And you can talk to girls more easily. They will talk to you. You don't necessarily do any better with them, but they will talk to you. It's almost like being in the ladies' room sometimes because they feel comfortable with you and they will say a lot of things they wouldn't talk to anybody they would think of as a potential suitor. They think of you as like some freak. You may as well have an elephant on a rope, you know, for the way they deal with you.
In the year 2020, you'll be 70 years old.
Oh my God.
Now, what will the world be like then?
It'll be one giant film corporation. There'll be no longer any governments. It'll be one nation, under God, indivisible, with circuits and VCRs for everyone. I don't know. 2020. There'll be cold fusion. We'll actually be able to power our cars with our own feces. That's right. The emissions problem will be a little intense, but just light a match. Things that I see in the future. I see it could be quite incredible if we can master a few problems. Like the air and the water thing might be nice. I see governments dissolving. You know, these barriers are kind of all falling down for economic reasons. You know, they're all so interbound. That's why when one market crashes, there's like almost like a world stock market crash. And this is a very long economic explanation of something I haven't got a fucking
Do you think that there's a role of the artist in society?
Yeah, for a comic especially. to constantly never let it take itself seriously, to play with, to fuck with the parameters. The premise that comedy is there to basically show us we fart, we laugh, to make us realize we still are part animal. As intellectual as we think we are, you still trip. You still have human foibles, sexuality, all the different things to still make you aware of your humanity. And that's what we're supposed to do. It's just to keep us awake, cut through the shit, peel off the mask and go, oh, you got a big nose. Or put on the big nose and make you realize, wait a minute, I don't have a big nose. But all that stuff, so you don't take yourself seriously and destroy the species.
Do you ever worry about running out of material or ideas?
No, there's a world out there. Open the window, and it's there.
Sex, if you view sex just and go, you look pretty ridiculous. Even the face, I mean, the face you make when you have an orgasm is pretty much, no one looks probably even more invading. It's like kind of, yeah! Everyone looks pretty fucking stupid. At the moment, they fire the spoo. You get like that wind tunnel face. Baby, baby, baby. Oh, baby, 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 baby. Baby, baby, baby. Everything kind of goes. It's nature going, you look like an animal. It's that one thing you gotta know. You look a little silly. I don't care what type of lighting you use, whatever strap-on attachments, you still sometimes look like a poodle and someone's gonna get a fire hose. These are the things you wonder.
Yes, about it as a topic, but you've been to the birth of all three of the children?
I just remember it was like a magic act. All of a sudden they put up this little tent and they came, I heard this, and they don't scream in the first few seconds, they just kind of go, hey, wait, it's cold, it's very cold. And then they wash them off, and suture, and they put the little yarmulke on, the little Teamster cap, the little longshoreman cap. Yo, Dad, yo, excuse me, you want me to unload the ship? And then they handed it to him.
I don't think I asked you any about your faults, if you have any, and what they are.
In comedy, not pursuing things, committing to an idea and taking it to its fullest extent. Because it started when I first started performing, it was all kind of jumping around. Explore an idea till you've exhausted it. To really go to all the different parameters of it. I think another one is not working so much. This is very interesting. Look at what's bad about it.
What's bad, yeah.
Look in the mirror and go, nostril hairs. The fact that I braid them. I don't know. Sometimes, keeping track of people. So it's just a weird combination of worrying so much about the outside world and not. You have to be more aware of the inner circle of folks that matter. And if it comes from performing, you always want to make sure that everyone in the audience is all taken care of. That constant desire to please all the time. That can get you in some shit.
Do you have or ever make any New Year's resolutions?
I haven't in a while. I haven't made any, and I think, since I was about a kid. I used to give up a lot of things for Lent, too. And then I still got hairy.